Right, and so we carry on in Isaiah 59. The previous section was rather grim. This is still not exactly cheerful, but it moves on a bit. So let's read it. We're going to read verses 9 to 15. So, justice is far from us, and righteousness does not reach us. We look for light, but all is darkness. For brightness, but we walk in deep shadows. Like the blind, we grope along the wall, feeling our way like people without eyes. At midday, we stumble as if it were twilight. Among the strong, we are like the dead. We all growl like bears. We moan mournfully like doves. We look for justice, but find none. For deliverance, but it is far away. So in the previous six or seven verses, we had a depiction of sin, of the way that sin works in society. Now we get a different perspective, as it's a picture of people looking for justice. As it says, justice is far from us, righteousness does not reach us. We look for light, but all we find is darkness. We grope like the blind. At midday we stumble. And at the end we look for justice, but find none. So it's not a picture of man who is happy with this disastrous state of affairs, but of man who wants to put things right, but can't, is utterly incapable of doing so, is hopelessly blind. Just to give two examples of that, one is abortion. Now, abortion was legalised in the UK, or I think the whole law is very complicated, but anyway, it was introduced, effectively legalised in 1967. It was done so with at least some good motives. They wanted to end backstreet abortions. And it was supposed to be limited. But as we know, we effectively have abortion on demand, and there are approximately, I think, 200,000 a year in the UK. Worldwide, there are millions aborted each year. At present, there are periodic debates and calls for assisted suicide. And again, it's done with good motives. Some people suffer terribly, from terrible pain for which there is no apparent relief. And people want to introduce euthanasia, assisted suicide, uh, mercy killing, or whatever. It's done from good motive, or sought to be done back from good motives. But if we ever introduce it in this country, it will be a disaster. They will say they will introduce safeguards. Safeguards will not work. If you don't believe me, look at what's happened, what has happened and is happening in Canada, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, where euthanasia is effectively out of control. Even children can be euthanized, can be so-called mercy killing. It has spread far beyond the original boundaries. So even when we seek to do things, to make things better, they get worse. Then there's maybe a little light in the next few verses. For our offences are many in your sight, and our sins testify against us. Our offences are ever with us, and we acknowledge our iniquities. Rebellion and treachery against the Lord, turning our backs on our God, inciting revolt and depression, uttering lies our hearts have conceived. So justice is driven back, and righteousness stands at a distance. Truth has stumbled in the streets, honesty cannot enter. Truth is nowhere to be found. Whoever shuns evil becomes a prey. I said there's a little light here. The light is there is a recognition of the root or the source of the problem, which is our sin, our offences, our rebellion and treachery against God. That's a hint of light here. In the next bit, we're going to get a proper burst of light. Here, there's a recognition of, it's talking about people still being in complete darkness, but starting to recognize why. That it is our sin, which means that justice is driven back and righteousness stands at a distance. And truth is nowhere to be found. The root of all our problems are our rebellion against God. So we're still in a place of desolation, but we're closer to finding the answer. And we'll start to get that in the next one.